Broadcasting live from the Zimmer Communications World Headquarters.
Great news for the American people.
This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri with Branden Rathert, featuring Stephanie Bell, News Director Brian Hauswirth, John Marsh, and Hannah, the producer.
This is why we listen to you.
Get ready, pal. And now, here's your host, Branden Rathert.
So there's a long relationship between Iran and Hamas. In fact, Hamas wouldn't be Hamas without the support that it's gotten over many years from Iran. We haven't yet seen direct evidence that Iran was behind this particular attack or involved, but the support over many years is clear. It's one of the reasons that over the last couple of years, we have been resolutely working against Iran's support for terrorism, for destabilizing actions in other countries. We've sanctioned more than 400 Iranian individuals and entities precisely for the kind of support that they've offered Hamas in the past. And it's something that we remain extremely vigilant about.
Now, you got to give Secretary of State Anthony Blinken a little bit of leeway here. He made those comments yesterday morning, I guess in 7 o'clock hour in one of the talk TV shows yesterday. He says there's no evidence that Iran is linked to this. He had to have known at the time, though. We do know for sure numerous news outlets, including Wall Street Journal, Iran did help plot this attack on Israel over several weeks. Now, the thing here is the money. Remember, what was it, 2 months ago, the United States released some $6 billion to Iran in exchange for some hostages. And Nikki Haley, who, by the way, she knows about this kind of stuff, GOP presidential candidate, she is saying, look at the money. And I agree with her here because already progressives are saying, no, this money, see, the $6 billion, Iran didn't use that money. And we want to dismantle that argument here. But first, Nikki Haley.
I think it was irresponsible for Secretary Blinken to say that the $6 billion doesn't weigh in here. I mean, let's be honest with the American people and understand that Hamas knows and Iran knows they're moving money around as we speak because they know $6 billion is going to be released. That's the reality.
And I agree with her. Because think about it like this, like if you win the Powerball, if you won the Powerball over the weekend, which nobody won, all of a sudden, you know, man, I got $1.4 billion coming. I don't have the money yet. But what are you going to do with the money that you do have?
Oh, you're spending for sure. I mean, think about all the people who have $100 left in their bank account. They're getting paid Friday. They know that check's coming. They go out to dinner Thursday. It's the word we're looking for here is fungible. And some of the worst takes I saw yesterday from some people who are local, but maybe not the brightest. That was the stupidest take I heard yesterday. It was just, oh, it's still sitting in the bank. It has nothing to do with any of this. Are you kidding me?
That's right, because you know it's coming. You are going to start spending money. And the other thing, because I heard several people say this yesterday, as a matter of fact, when we finish up this clip from Nikki Haley, she was on NBC's Meet the Press. I want you to hear the comments at the end by the reporter, because we keep hearing these people say there's no proof. Remember, there also was not enough proof to convict O.J. Simpson of murder. So when these politicians lie to you, lie to the American people, they're servants, by the way. And so when they come out and lie to you, there's no proof. They are choosing their words carefully. And as an attorney, you know, words matter sometimes. So in this situation, when they're saying there's no proof, in other words, Anthony Blinken, he knows. He knows Iran was behind this. He knows we just released $6 billion to Iran. They may not have the debit card. They may not be at that ATM there on the Gaza Strip withdrawing cash to go buy stuff to attack Israel right now with that $6 billion that was released. But they know they got money coming. If I know I've got a big chunk of money coming, I'm going to spend what I got, man. I'm going to spend it right now. So completely disingenuous, if not just outright dishonest. That's the thing I get frustrated with these servants, how they lie. You know, we're all fellow Americans. Shouldn't we be honest with each other? Especially these people in positions of leadership. More from Nikki Haley.
When I was at the United Nations, you saw that when those planes full of cash sent by Obama to Iran, I went to the International Atomic Energy Agency. I met with them. What happened was those funds were sent to Hezbollah in Lebanon. They were sent to Hamas in Gaza. They were sent to the Houthis in Yemen. They go and spread terrorism every time they get a dollar. It doesn't go to the Iranian people. It does go to terrorist attacks. And Secretary Blinken's just wrong to imply that this money is not being moved around as we speak
and yet,
to
Ambassador,
hurt those that love freedom.
And yet, Ambassador, there's just no proof of that yet.
So Kristen Welker repeating the talking point from Anthony Blinken earlier in that context of the conversation. There's no proof that this is happening. You're the Secretary of State. You knew it and you lied. You lied to the American people on the TV. Well, there's no proof. You know what happened.
And I think in legal terms, you'd maybe call it circumstantial evidence. You're talking about the timing. The Wall Street Journal reported that Iran started plotting and helping organize this. Guess when all of this plotting started? August, the same month.
The same month, the U.S. said, here's $6 billion. Those are facts. These are not talking points. Stephanie's absolutely right. It was in August. The U.S. said, all right, we're going to release that $6 billion. I would imagine minutes after then, or sometime maybe the next day, Iran started planning this with the other enemies. They did it right after they got that money. A third grader, Jefferson City Elementary, could explain this to a progressive. Okay, so it's the money, right? A third grader would be able to recognize that the progressive Anthony Blinken is lying to you. I think anybody could recognize this, and you try to protect these people and try to give us this false sense of security. That's depressing, man.
I noticed too, guys, that Kansas City Mayor, former Mayor Emanuel Cleaver, I'm thinking of him, but it's the Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas tweeted over the weekend. Emanuel Cleaver did as well, but Mayor Lucas was being really hammered a little bit by some of the Palestinian activists. I don't know if folks have noticed that for what I thought was a tweet that was very similar to what even some Republicans have tweeted, many Republicans in Jefferson City. Congresswoman Cori Bush has also weighed in on this from St. Louis. She is condemning the violence in Palestine, in Israel, in her words, condemning the targeting of civilians. She's calling for a ceasefire. And she's got a full statement up on her Twitter page. But I do notice this is a 4-paragraph release. Third paragraph here, it says, as part of, quote, achieving a just and lasting peace, we must do our part to stop this violence and trauma by ending U.S. government support for Israeli military occupation and apartheid, end of quote. So that's getting some attention from some of her constituents in St. Louis, but many on the Twitter page following her seem to agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I was glued to the news all weekend. It's terrifying. And I did see the tweet from Mayor Lucas, and it seemed more middle of the road.
It did.
But yeah, I mean, and then seeing what was happening on the streets in New York, seeing some of the demonstrations, I mean, it's tense even here. And I think there were demonstrations in Canada, and it just made me think, meanwhile, while, people are taking to the streets, even in our own country, and have very serious disagreements here, Joe Biden is having a barbecue, I think, is what he was doing. And then I just got angry. I got real angry. And then people were digging up some of Trump's old tweets. And I just thought, would we be here on the worldwide stage? Would all of this conflict erupt under Trump? And people were posting his old tweets. And I thought he had one that said, "No mercy to terrorists, you dumb bastards." That was just one of his tweets. Another one, he said some friendly health advice to Iran. If one American is killed, I will hold Iran responsible. Think it over.
State Representative Adam Schwadron, St. Charles, he's going to be joining us on the show, 710, some insight. He's spoken about issues like this. He's spoken about them on the House floor. He is Jewish. He's going to be joining us at 710 this morning. To your point, Senator Roger Marshall from Kansas.
You have to ask Joe Biden. Whatever he does turns out to be wrong. We saw it with the debacle in Afghanistan. We're seeing Ukraine crumble apart as well right now. And here we are. The reason that Hamas feels comfortable doing this is because they don't respect Joe Biden. Nobody respects him. He's a gutless wonder. Nobody respects him. And that's why these terrorist groups are reigning free right now.
We don't like to brag when we're right, but it's something that Stephanie and I, since day one, because I think it is a serious enough issue to say, okay, the conservative, independent, libertarian aspect aside, the biggest problem we saw following the tragic events of January the 20th of 2021 was our appearance on a worldwide stage when you have somebody like President Magoo running the country. NATO said in Washington, D.C., we've played the clip 100 times, the reason that Putin invaded Ukraine was because of Joe's perceived weakness. It was because of Joe, how he handled Afghanistan. They looked around, Putin looked around and said, do you see what President Magoo did with the Afghanistan withdrawal? He killed 12 young Americans. My goodness, one of them from Missouri, right down I-70 from mid-Missouri. I think now's a good time to invade Ukraine. And he went and invaded Ukraine. And then the United States, now they've released $6 billion 2 months ago. Then days after, Iran sits down, starts planning this. And I just don't know any other way to put it. The bigger picture, that is why Joe Biden, if you're a Democrat or a progressive, for the love of God, please do not vote for Joe Biden. You see what he's done to Israel. You see the money he's given to Iran. You see what he did to our American service members in Afghanistan. You see what he has done, which caused Ukraine to be invaded by Putin. These are all easily, verifiably, and in a factual manner traced to the guy who is the president of the United States of America. You cannot get around that. You cannot make a left-hand turns to talk your way out of it. You know, the other thing that reminded me of, David Tyson Smith, local state rep. I like the guy personally. He's done some great stuff on a human level. He came in here, I don't know, it's been a couple of months, and the whole thing was, David, we don't want to argue. We want to hear, why do progressives and Democrats, why do you think in these ways? And we highlighted some of the things that, at least in my opinion, are asinine and insane. And he danced. Somebody even said it sounds like he's auditioning with Dancing with the Stars because he danced around the stuff so much. And it occurs to me, because of these things that we see with President Magoo, David Tyson Smith, the reason he gave us the runaround that morning, and he was very clear, he was very concise. That was something that had been in the works for a while. He knew exactly what the mission was on that day when he came and sat in these studios here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri, and he never gave any good answers. And here's why, I think. In his own mind, he disagreed. He cannot side with Democrats. He can't explain it. And that's why he danced around the issues, because leadership on the Democrat side is so, it's not only poor, it's dangerous for you and your kids and dangerous for your grandkids.
I do think he's more moderate than where a lot of folks are in his party. But one thing we know about Democrats, unlike Republicans, is that they are super good at falling in line. And we saw it in D.C. last week. They don't separate. They are unified in their position, even when, you know, you might be a little bit more moderate than your colleagues. You're not going to say that publicly. And when it's time to get in line, guess what? You're getting in line. And that's something that they do really well.
They are very good at it. Coming up, 7:35, Scott Faughn, Missouri Times. Talking about campaign money for some Missouri races, specifically gubernatorial races. Where are we with that? That's coming up, 7:35. And we get to meet the dude who is going to marry producer Hannah, her fiance, and I don't know why he's agreed to do this. Hannah, what did you have to
marry me or come in?
To come in and hang out with Wake Up Mid-Missouri. How'd you do it, man?
I don't know.
You told him.
Yeah.
You just told him. All right, coming up.
Pretty much.
So we get to meet him throughout the morning. Coming up, we're going to be doing the daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell.
Should I be putting all my eggs in the RFK basket?
Let's
I finally have some hope.
to which his family has been tied for generations.
And that's getting us into today's Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell.
Just kidding. RFK is actually going to run potentially as an independent or a third-party candidate. He is expected to be in Philadelphia today and to outline his plans. Joe Biden has criticized him already for this, thinking, he could siphon off votes from Biden. There's also the potential Green Party that is out there, and as well as this no labels, not party that's out there that could have some sort of running candidate. They've been extra quiet lately, so I don't know what's going on with them, but it certainly could shake up the game. And, the polling hasn't been looking great for Biden as of late, but I think I'll take any help we can get, and I think this is helpful to us. So it's providing me some hope today.
As a matter of fact, some polling for what it's worth. One TIPP poll, Trump and Biden neck and neck. An Emerson poll shows Trump beating Biden by 29 points.
What? Are any other polls other than just the tip showing that one?
Oh,
no. And points.
Yikes. All right. So the border obviously is a major issue, and people, and with the latest conflict overseas, it's becoming even more concerning for folks. The GOP candidates are out really strongly on the border. DeSantis wants drug smugglers to be shot dead. Nikki Haley says we're going to send special forces into Mexico. Ramaswamy said we're treating drug cartels as the sugar daddy, and if he's elected, there's a new daddy in town. That's weird. Anyway.
No.
Oh, God.
Did he really say that?
I want the first bumper stick, and that's for DeSantis saying there's a new...
Ramaswamy.
There's
a new daddy in town.
There's a new daddy in town. His name is Vivek Ramaswamy.
Now,
that.
So a lot of these GOP candidates are saying they're going to carry out potential acts of war against Mexico. Of course, it's centered around the fentanyl coming into the country. Ramaswamy did something really interesting that I saw on Twitter and got a lot of headlines this weekend. He was up on the northern border. Did you see this?
I did not.
And he was saying, here's where we're supposed to come in, and then there's a thing that says hiking trail, and so he takes the hiking trail and comes right in, and he's like, is anyone paying attention up here? Because this is also a problem.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, you cross the Canadian border, they have the checkpoints. Obviously, it's not walled or fenced or anything like that. You don't see people with AK-47s guarding the border, but yeah, you can take some of those trails and just walk right through.
I think he's actually gone to the border and talking about something and bringing up an issue that no one else is talking about. I do like Ramaswamy. I like him.
Last week, here's something I said that I really liked about Ramaswamy, talking about the budget. He says, why don't we start at the beginning with the budget? Because here's basically what we do in Washington, D.C., and I don't know, probably a whole lot in the business world, is everybody says, okay, what was our budget last year? What do we need last year? And his idea, why don't we just start from zero? What do you need to run your office? Not what did you do last year? What do you absolutely need?
Well, we're not the only ones talking about the border, because the UK is talking about the border, and Rishi Sunak is saying, he's not saying build the wall, he's saying stop the boats. And so they have a policy where they are sending asylum seekers to Rwanda, and the folks representing the migrants are saying that is unlawful and inhumane. The East African country is not a safe place to send people, so they are challenging it. It is before the UK Supreme Court. Now, for my lawyer friends, this is wild. 3 days of arguments. It's not a when you go to
Trump, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members.
Terms being tossed around like deprogramming Trump followers.
All of America needs deprogramming because we've all been negatively influenced by Donald Trump.
Can't sit down with people that don't recognize there was an insurrection. Megan alluded the other day to the deprogramming that Katie Couric talked about.
Deprogramming that might work in other cases is it's obviously proven to be difficult.
Many of them have allowed the lies really to seep into their soul, and it's beginning to rot their minds.
Taking it even a step further, Raskin told the New York Times that he's ordered books about cults and deprogramming.
Another talking point. We heard the comments last week from Hillary Clinton. Here's the thing, and I don't know if you saw the video of Hillary Clinton saying that MAGA ideas, people that believe in Donald Trump and support the ideas of, financial responsibility and America first, they need to be deprogrammed. You can hear this talking point been making the rounds, much like the talking point we've been seeing this morning as it relates to Iran getting that $6 billion released back in August from the United States. The other thing apparently that started happening in August after we released the $6 billion.
They started plotting the plan for this whole attack.
Iran started helping to plot the plan. So the talking point this morning, there's no proof. That's what the progressives and folks from the White House are saying. Well, there's no proof that this money, first of all, if they don't have it yet, when you get a chunk of money, it's coming. You start spending the money you do have. But their talking point, there is no evidence. Matter of fact, Anthony Blinken on TV yesterday morning, then 12 hours, he's saying, well, we don't know that Iran had anything to do with this. It's confirmed less 12 hours later that, Iran probably not only helped with the money, they helped with the planning. And the Secretary of State, he would have known that 12 hours beforehand. But it's the talking point. There is no evidence. Coming up 7:10 this morning, Adam Schwadron, State Representative, St. Charles, Republican. He is Jewish. He's going to be joining us talking about what happened with Israel over the weekend. He's here at 7:10. Scott Faughn, 7:35. Wanted to pass this along. Good thing most of, almost 15,000 state employees, Jefferson City, are going to be off today because the Missouri Department of Transportation closing the Truman Boulevard Bridge over Highway 50. That's going to be going on for about 10 days. Welcome into the show. It's Wake Up Mid-Missouri. There is Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
Producer Hannah is here.
Hello.
Are you excited about your fiance? Hannah's fiance, Branden, is going to be, and he's a pretty good dude, by the way. He works for the state. He is a volunteer firefighter. We're excited to meet him this morning. How do you feel about things?
I'm excited, but more nervous because I don't think this is going to end well for me.
Yeah, what is it about? What makes you nervous?
I just have a feeling that you're going to work very hard to embarrass me.
No.
Uh-huh.
Oh, we'll be nice.
Stephanie, do you feel I have a right to be nervous?
Probably.
Coming up a little bit later, we're also going to be checking 8:25. We will do the Morning Bell Business News, a little twist. Only Stephanie Bell can give you. Marsh is out today. He is going to be here tomorrow, but we will still be doing That Would Be All except for this. Joe Biden said something over the weekend. So when he got done flipping dogs and stirring up the baked beans at the cookout Saturday after we learned that Israel had been attacked, he's out doing a barbecue and he's doing the cooking and stuff like that. He found time to make, and it's something, I don't know if you agree with what he said, but I happen to agree with what the president said over the weekend. He's talking about the jobs report and people talking about, so he's trying to make it all glowy and glossy, and there are some good points to it. And listen, we want the economy to be good. It's not like smart conservatives are sitting around, gosh, I hope these new job numbers come out and they're crap because I just want to keep proving my point that Joe is bad for the country. Smart conservatives are not doing that. We all want the country to do well. We want there to be jobs. Don't want recession, all that good stuff. But to that point, Joe Biden said something interesting over the weekend, and I happen to agree with him.
Look, I got to choose my words here. You all are not the happiest people in the world.
So he's addressing reporters, saying you're not the happiest people in the world. And that takes him into the point that he's trying to make.
What's your report? And I mean it sincerely. It gets you get more legs when you're reporting something that's negative. I don't mean you're picking on me. I'm just the nature of things. You turn on the television, and there's not a whole lot about boy saves dog as he swims in the lake. To say it's about somebody pushed the dog in the lake. I mean I get it.
I don't know if I understand the analogy. Hannah's eyes got a little crossed there, too, which you could see if you were watching on our YouTube channel.
I'm trying to figure out why he's breathing so heavy.
Yeah, well, because he's not in good health. I pray somebody in his circle helps him. Anyhow, but he's right. You know, when it comes to the news, well, what was the old mantra in journalism? If it bleeds, it leads. Whether you watch MSNBC or Fox, or you read Breitbart, or you watch Newsmax, there's very little that's positive. And talk radio, same thing. Make your living. So I know, sowing discontent, and sometimes don't misunderstand what I'm trying to say here. Sometimes presenting facts that aren't favorable to people, that's not being negative. That's being very important. That is providing a service. But I agree with the president. Because you feel like it got to a point during the government pandemic, I was trying to watch the network news every night and just couldn't, especially, there was one especially, lead anchor is David Muir on the ABC National News, not the local affiliate I'm talking about, but talking on ABC National News. Man, they come on with blaring graphics and red letters, and everything's a breaking news story, and everything is developing now, happening right now, breaking. And he's always, and every time he delivers a story, it's like this, and now we go here where it is raining, which is further evidence of climate change. They're bad about it, and it bums people out. Incidentally, we have a story of a kid saving a dog and a man from a lake.
Yay!
This was in, I don't know how long ago it was, but this dude's in his Jeep, went to the lake, 17-year-old kid named Joe Salmon. He jumped in, saved an 83-year-old dude. He's trying to get out of his Jeep, and his foot gets caught in between the console and the seat, and so he goes in, gets some help from other people. 17 years old, saved the 83-year-old, and saved the dog Cooper, who was 6. So see, we have a dog. We have a positive story.
Stephanie probably hates this story.
The dog's name is Cooper.
Dog's name is Cooper.
Kind of like Nathan's dog named, or no, that was his car named Kyle.
Kyle
and
the
his
dog.
cat.
That's a weird name for a dog.
Cooper had a dog named Cooper, actually. Seriously,
Really?
a little Rottweiler black lab mix, probably second best dog I ever had. If I was grading, like I grade people in my life, this person is the most important person in my life. This one's third. If I was grading my dogs, Cooper was probably my second favorite dog ever. Stephanie, what was the highlight of your weekend?
I watched the Southern Boone 6th grade Eagles complete their regular season undefeated.
Right.
And
how
the
about
last
that?
2 seasons, they've, I guess, won half and half. And their goal was to go 3-3. And they ended up, they have a big game next week, but they really worked hard. And so it went into overtime. And everyone's like, what are the rules for 6th grade overtime? Same as college football, if you're wondering. But
Man, how about that game Saturday? Mizzou, LSU, what a tough game that was. And then yesterday, the Chiefs. And listen, the Chiefs, I keep going, what's wrong with the Chiefs? What's wrong with the Chiefs? They're 4-1.
Yeah.
And I'm going like, what's wrong? Patrick's not throwing for 348 yards.
Travis Kelce might be injured, right?
Yeah, he's and it was a play. I don't know if you saw the play, but like he just turned. He didn't get hit by anybody, and you could see right away he grabbed his ankle, came back, scored the go-ahead touchdown for the Chiefs. So that was cool. Yeah. But I'm wondering, and of course, I'm wondering, is he spending too much time with his new alleged girlfriend and maybe not spending enough time? And that's where, again, the story about it's not that the dog got saved. That's where I am right now. Somebody pushed the dog into the lake.
What was the highlight of your week? Yesterday, the weather was incredible. Like, if we could have every day like that.
Oh, my gosh. It was perfect. I got to go hang out with a big guy over the weekend and swaps.
What?
The big guy, my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to hang out with him over the weekends. So that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, are you going to talk about what else you did over the weekend?
I don't think anybody cares about that except for me and maybe her. No, I did. Went to Tonka State Park. Keep saying Tonka State. Tonka State Park. And it's nice. I'd never been there. It's, if you're headed down south, it might be worth pulling off for about 90 minutes. Went and saw the castle, went down to the springs, and even posted some pictures on Facebook, which I haven't done on my personal Facebook page. And I haven't done that in a long time.
They
Not
call
just
that
any pictures.
They call that a hard launch these days.
Is that what that is?
Yes.
What does that mean?
When your relationship is like not super public, but then like all of a sudden it's like, A soft launch would be like maybe like you post a picture of yourself out at dinner and there's like 2 place settings, or like her hand or like, so people are like, I wonder if Brandon's seeing someone, but like a picture of her and you, hard launch.
Yeah. So it's on personal Facebook page, not on the Wake Up Mid-Missouri Facebook
We could share it if you would like us to.
Lovely weekend.
Yeah, and I'm sure she was probably excited that you posted her on your Facebook.
Probably, because you girls get that way about those kinds of things. And I mean that in a nice way. It's not, I didn't mean to sound,
Uh-huh.
And I think the highlight of my week is going to be, now we've known Branden, which is producer Hannah's fiance. Steph and I have had the pleasure, fine young man, by the way.
Brandon with an O-N.
Brandon with an O-N.
It's going to get real confusing.
You're Brandon with an E-N.
And he's a fine young man, and we've talked about him over the years, in the 7 years that they've been engaged. And now we get to meet him. We'll do that coming up 5 minutes from now.
points. The Nasdaq up 212, S&P 500 up 50. Hillary Barsky, Fox News.
Friday's numbers following the job report that was released. Stephanie will look at your futures coming up at 8:25 in the morning bell. Business news with a little twist, by the way, after Israel declares war after being invaded attacked over the weekend. Gas prices is a big thing. Trilby Lundberg, gas industry expert, talking about the potential of what could or could not happen to gas prices.
What we might see is a small rise in the price of crude, a change to the upside, simply to build in some kind of risk premium for the fact of where this attack took place, in the Middle East.
Yeah, and that's something that folks paying attention to because, listen, everything. So how does this affect us? We can sit and whine and complain about things, and we're saddened to see what's happened. But then how is this going to affect us here? That's why these things are important. Welcome to the show. It's Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Stephanie Bell, producer Hannah Marsh is back tomorrow. Brian Hauswirth is here. My name is Branden Rathert. Coming up 7:10, State Rep Adam Schwadron, Republican, St. Charles area. He is Jewish. He is going to be joining us. His take on this coming up at 7:10. Scott Faughn, Missouri time 7:34. What about campaign coffers for especially our gubernatorial candidates? Scott's going to be looking at that coming up at 7:35. We feel really lucky for a long time now. I'm talking about Hannah. She's getting married. And as we understand it, she got married a week and a half ago. Court steps, Montauk County Courthouse.
No, you need to be careful with starting those fake news rumors.
As a matter of fact, we get to meet her fiance. You get to meet her. He's a gentleman that we've known for quite some time here in the show. And I will tell you seriously and personally, I think, and I've said this to Hannah and most people I meet, the guy that she has chosen to marry is a very fine, young, good human being. One of the things he does, he's a volunteer firefighter, and he's just an all-around. He seriously is a good guy. How did you, and his name is Branden, how did you and Hannah, which I always find it interesting, that she chose to marry a dude who has the same name as me.
Are you trying to make this about yourself right
Probably
now?
It sounds like it, doesn't it? How did y'all meet?
Well, we actually we met on a dating app. It's called Bumble.
Yeah.
I didn't tell her this for almost 6 or 8 months after we started really talking.
Really?
But I accidentally swiped on her.
Yeah.
It was an issue. She was a couple years younger than me. She was in Columbia in college, and I didn't know if that was going to work for me. I was already out of school. I was, big boy job already.
So what I hear you saying, it wasn't your first choice.
He thought I was going to be a partier, which is so funny because I'm such an old lady.
Tell me about the ones you were looking at on the app, though.
Okay.
Is this what you were worried about, Hannah?
A little bit.
All right. This is Branden, Hannah's fiance, Joyce.
What's up?
So it was an accident, but you didn't tell her for a long time?
Yeah, because I've been on the app for like a month and had no matches whatsoever. And I was kind of in that stage of my life where I really wasn't looking to date anyway. I'd gotten out of a bad relationship a couple years prior, and I was just kind of living the bachelor life for a while.
Yes, he was.
Which is pretty nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Yeah.
But we said, hey, we'll go on a date. And after the first date, I was like, you know what? I really want to continue to get to know this girl. She seems like she's pretty cool. Doesn't really fit what I originally thought about her. Wasn't a partier, wasn't, somebody that liked to go out and do all the stupid college kid stuff. So, because that definitely wasn't me even when I was in school.
What was the first thing that caught your fancy about her?
Well, we just we shared a lot of the same likes because Bumble kind of gives you the opportunity to put what are your hobbies, what are things that you like. And of course, she liked my profile because 90% of my pictures were either firefighting pictures.
Okay, okay.
She's got a thing for firemen.
Big dude in bunker gear, and one of my pictures had my guitar in it, and those two comboed together. I got her right off the bat.
Very nice.
The best part was finding out after the fact that his ex took the photos of him in his firefighter garb.
Yeah, you'll learn sometimes women get a little squeamish about that kind. We don't understand it, And I'll tell you this, what I've learned from my experience, we don't need to try to understand it. It's all about her, and for her, hopefully it'll be all about you. And I've been married twice, so I know what I'm talking about here. I've done this 2 times. I've got some experience. Here. And you're a volunteer, so I applaud anybody. By the way, going by the Capitol over the weekend, lit up in red to highlight firefighters. There was a big event honoring firefighters that have died in the line of duty. What is it, and you're a volunteer firefighter, what is it that made you want to be a firefighter?
Well, I mean, first of all, my dad was a firefighter. My brother is still on the fire department with me. Our youngest brother just actually joined our junior firefighter program for people who are not old enough to be on full time. So it's a family affair for me. I started out as I wanted to do something to help my community. You know, my dad was also a police officer for California for many, many years. My brother was in the Marine Corps. And I needed something. And it gave me a sense of community. It gave me a sense of purpose. And after 9 years now, I absolutely love what I do there.
Being a volunteer firefighter in Montauk County, specifically for the city of California,
yes, sir.
Or Montauk County, and I love that. We'll look forward to
people and understand that Hamas knows and Iran knows they're moving money around as we speak because they know $6 billion is going to be released. That's the reality. When I was at the United Nations, you saw that when those planes full of cash sent by Obama to Iran, I went to the International Atomic Energy Agency. I met with them. What happened was those funds were sent to Hezbollah in Lebanon. They were sent to Hamas in Gaza. They were sent to the Houthis in Yemen. They go and spread terrorism every time they get a dollar. It doesn't go to the Iranian people. It does go to terrorist attacks. And Secretary Blinken's just wrong to imply that this money is not being moved around as we speak
and yet,
to
Ambassador,
hurt those that love freedom.
And yet, Ambassador, there's just no proof of that yet.
That's Nikki Haley, of course, GOP presidential candidate, former UN ambassador. Two things I want to highlight in there. She's talking about the money because progressives are saying, well, that $6 billion that the United States released to Iran, they don't even have that money yet. They didn't use that money. That's BS. If I won the Powerball over the weekend, if I won that $1.4 billion, even though I did not have that money in my account, I'd still be spending it. I want to bring in State Representative Adam Schwadron, Republican, St. Charles area, who has been open about his Jewish faith on the House floor. As a matter of fact, after the attack on a synagogue in Texas about a year and a half ago, he got up and very impassioned speech. I want to start real quickly here with you, Mr. Schwadron. What about the thing with the money that Nikki Haley is referring to there? My take is, you're getting the money. Yes, you're spending it. We know now that Iran helped to plan this attack. How do you react to that, sir?
Yeah, first of all, good morning. Thank you for having me on and sharing my views. Sometimes I'm a little awed that people want to hear what I have to say, but happy to share it with you. And yes, I do agree that as soon as Iran found out that they had that money, they said they've been planning for weeks. So it's been weeks since they got that money. And so they've been planning with Hamas for weeks, this attack that we saw on Israel on the Sabbath day that caught them completely off guard. So people are saying it's their 9/11 version, simply with the number of people killed, with the armed insurgents just pouring into the cities over the border. And it's unfortunate to see, especially since a contingent of legislators from Missouri, there were 4 state senators, myself and another state representative, that got to go to Israel back in December. And we saw up close and personal the Otef Aza region of Israel there, which is this area surrounding the Gaza Strip. And we saw an Iron Dome installation. We saw an observant command center. We saw the town of Sderot and got a security briefing by Colonel Kobe Maram, who in his earlier life was just a complete awesome person who worked on saving people on the raids and what have you, because Israel is always a target.
All right, our guest, State Representative Adam Schwadron, Republican, St. Louis area, who's spoken about issues like this on the past in the House floor. Personally, you get the news on Saturday. I'm talking like you personally. How does that make you feel? How do you react when you hear the news of Israel being attacked?
Yeah, I woke up in the morning to a flurry of text messages coming in, and I get the sleep out of my eyes. I start to process, and then first thing I have to do is I have to start going to the news sites and just seeing what was going on, because with Twitter, now X, you are getting to see up close and personal the videos, and just seeing some of the videos of the towns. And Sderot, I believe, was one of the towns that you had the Hamas people just pouring into and just wantonly killing people on the streets. It was definitely something that it took me a while to process. I had to sit there and I had to just think and just start praying for the people of Israel.
So you were like stunned, saddened?
I was everything.
Yeah.
Stunned, saddened, upset, especially, like I said, having just been there and seeing and knowing that other representatives from across the nation were actually getting ready to go to Israel later this month and see what's going on there, and not sure whether that trip will be happening for them.
We are speaking live this morning with State Representative Adam Schwadron, who's a Republican from St. Charles County. He's joining us live here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Representative, I appreciate joining us. Israel has formally declared war against Hamas. I want to go back to something you referenced. You mentioned you and I believe 3 other state lawmakers went to Israel in December. So really, not that long ago. I want to talk more about that trip. Who are the 3 other representatives, and what really what was your biggest takeaway from that trip?
It was more than just 3. It was myself, State Representative Lakeisha Bosley, State Senator Carla May, Carla Esslinger, Senator J.J. Rizzo, and then Senator-elect Rusty Black. Okay. And so we spent 10 days in Israel and just seeing everything that Israel had to offer. And on one of those days is when we went down towards Gaza. And again, seeing the Iron Dome installation, the setup that they have there. The Iron Dome it's purely defensive. They have it there because Gaza, with all their humanitarian money, and I put quotations put around that, somehow manages to get their hands on so many rockets to just volley across the border into Israel. And then the Observe It Command Center was definitely eye-opening. It was IDF soldiers, 18, 19-year-old, I still call them kids, that are sitting there and they're watching the border, making sure to keep Israel safe because they know at any moment, like we saw on Saturday morning, that they will come across and do as much killing and terrorism as possible.
All right, State Representative Adam Schwadron, Republican, St. Charles area, joining us this morning. He is Jewish. He was just in Israel not too long ago. Somebody driving to work 7:15 in the morning, and maybe they don't understand the history of Israel and the Gaza Strip and all of that. I don't want to get too much into the history, but somebody driving to work this morning, why should we be paying attention to what is happening this morning in Israel?
I would say the reason you need to pay attention to what is happening there is because the United States has recognized Israel as one of its strongest allies in the Middle East, and the people that want death to Israel, they chant death to Israel, death to Jews. They also chant death to America. And that border was one of the most fortified borders always watched. And you take a look at our southern border and what's happening down there, where we can't even build a wall and the people are flooding in. We have no idea who is flooding into America. And so we could be seeing attacks like this where they're just driving around randomly shooting. And we're always told you don't need an AR-15. Well, there may be a time where if they are just driving around the streets of St. Louis and randomly just shooting whomever they see on the street, they could be hiding amongst these people coming across our border and becoming sleeper cells here. So I would say, yes, we do need to care about what's going on there, as well as what's going on our southern border.
And, Branden had asked you about what it was like to wake up to the news, but even, as as it continues to pour into America, and you talked about folks here within our own borders, we saw demonstrations yesterday, some getting really intense. And then you see groups like there were, 30 Harvard organizations that came out to blame, everything on Israel. What is that like as an American, seeing other Americans stick up for terrorists?
It can be frustrating at times, but I know in my heart from everything that I've seen that Israel is doing everything it can to protect. There's a long time saying that if Israel were to lay down its arms, there would be no Israel. If Hamas and everyone that hated Israel laid down their arms, there would be peace.
And the other thing I'm wondering, too, like the possibility where they're geographically situated, the possibility for wider conflict on a worldwide stage. We've already heard somebody say this morning, Senator from Kansas, talk about Joe Biden is weak on the worldwide stage. Stephanie Bell and I have been on this since the tragic events of January the 20th of 2021 when President Magoo was sworn in. He talked about unity. We knew we took a hit in our standing on the worldwide stage. NATO has said that Putin invaded Ukraine because of Joe's perceived weakness, because of how poorly he handled Afghanistan and killed 13 of our service members over there. What about the possibility for a wider conflict on this?
Yeah, there's always that possibility. We are seeing now Israel's declared war for the first time in 50 years since the Yom Kippur War in 1973, where once again the terrorists took the opportunity of attacking Israel on not just a holiday, but the holiest day in the Jewish calendar, Yom Kippur. That's the Day of Atonement. And so we always see these attacks happening then, because that is when Israel is, some will say, at its weakest, because people aren't focused as much on security. They're focused on praying. They're focused on taking the holy Sabbath day and resting. So
Republican State Representative Adam Schwadron, obviously a lot going through his mind this morning. He reps the St. Charles area. He's a Republican and he is Jewish. And we are very appreciative of you sharing your experience, why this matters, what that's been like for you. Anything else that you would like to add, Mr. Schwadron, before we let you go?
I would just say we need to pray. We need to be vigilant and pray that Israel succeeds in its mission, because the people that want to kill Israel do also want to kill Americans.
Thank you for joining us this morning on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. I know in Columbia tonight, 4:30 to 6, Broadway and 9th, there's going to be a rally regarding this. Then tomorrow night is the annual Boone County GOP annual chili supper, 5:30, doors open. If you want to get, Steph and I always talk about get involved, go to these events, meet the candidates, and there are going to be some candidates for various offices that are going to be speaking at this event tomorrow night. So if you'd like to go to BooneCountyRepublicans.com, get some info, and we will see you there. Coming up 7:25-ish, we are going to be doing What's Hot with Hannah. What do you have for us this morning, Hannah?
Well, it's beginning of October, beginning of spooky season, and some real estate agents are having to deal with this.
All right, how's this causing a problem? Good morning, 7:25-ish, which means it's
7:25.
Time for What's Hot with Hannah.
It's not just my fiance this morning.
That's nice. By the way, producer Hannah's fiance, Branden, joining us throughout the show this morning. And I'm really excited about this because we've been talking about Branden, which is Hannah's fiance, and he's a good dude, volunteer firefighter, just a good human being. And as we are around their wedding time, we get to meet him this morning, so we'll be checking in with him from time to time. The thing that he loves the most about Hannah and the thing that he finds most peculiar about Hannah. He's going to share that.
Oh, boy. I don't even know if I know the answer to this question.
That's right. This is good learning. This would be like the dating game. Bob Eubanks in the dating game on the old TV show. What's hot with Hannah this morning?
Well, it's officially October, spooky season. Not just pumpkin spice season, but spooky season. And we've got a spooky story that involves a real estate agent and a property they're trying to sell in Massachusetts. There is a property for sale in Turgeon County in Massachusetts. It is the Turgeon Funeral Home, and they are trying to sell it for $769,000. The home was built in 1850 and was converted into a funeral home in 1948. And its listing says that it can easily be converted back to a single-family home. It's got 3 bedrooms. Sounds like a decent deal, I guess, if you're willing to spend that much on a house.
Sure.
The problem is people keep putting signs in the yard that say probably haunted. Which, I don't think I would be cool with living in a funeral home, even if it was converted back to a real house or whatever. There's too much history there. It's been around since the 1850s. I don't think I would be cool with living there.
Number one movie this weekend at the box office was The Exorcist Believer, $27 million at the box office. So does this enhance the value of the home? I would think somebody goes, oh, it's haunted and it used to be a funeral home? I'm all about that.
Maybe.
It depends on the person, but it's not like the people actually died there. I think I would have a worse problem if I knew people died in my house as opposed to they just transported their dead bodies for like a service at the funeral home. Now there is one of the old funeral homes on Capitol Avenue. People will know which one I'm talking about, the old Bisher Funeral Home. It's beautiful. And you can just imagine, like, if you were to go into an older other city and this home gets converted into like just like a giant mansion or like, I don't know, a place where you could have like small parties. Man, it would take a lot of money, but the building itself, I think it should be converted and used. And I would have no qualms that it used to be a funeral home.
I mean, something kind of unique. It has 3 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms. You don't see that very often.
Well, because you got a lot of people there that need to go potty.
And a lot of people who don't need to.
How much would you want to know about the history if you're buying a house? Let's say it's not a funeral home that you're buying, but you're buying a house. Like, if somebody got killed in that house or some real luck, would you want to know that? And I don't know if there's laws around this. I know when I was in Florida, they were trying to do laws saying, hey, if somebody operated a meth lab in your house, you had to legally let people know because it could still have long-lasting health implications, potentially even after a cleanup. Would you want to know?
No.
If it was going to affect my health, I would want to know.
Can't you?
But any sort of weird deaths, no thank you.
Can't you hire those spirit like the ghost hunter people, and they'll come in and do the house tour before to make sure your house isn't haunted before you get there. So maybe you can do that.
Brandon's grandma had holy water that she'd brought back from the Vatican with her, and when Brandon's oldest brother bought their first house, she went through the house and sprinkled holy water everywhere. And
have they had any problems?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, apparently it works.
As far as we know.
All right, as far as we know, it worked. By the way, we get to meet Brent.
for Speaker.
Should have a vote this week, maybe. Another name, so there's been two other names. Trump, of course, and Trump at first endorsed Trump, and now he endorses Jim Jordan. The other name we're hearing now, apparently there's a faction of folks that support this dude saying, how about we nominate him for House Speaker? Kevin McCarthy. There's some folks in the Republican Party going,
we tried that.
Yeah, we've been there, done that. Let's move away from that. Good morning. Welcome into the show. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri. There's Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
Producer Hannah is here.
Hello.
My name is Branden Rathert. Brian Hauswirth is here. Marsh is back tomorrow. The other person in studio with us today is Branden. That is producer Hannah's fiance. So we get to meet him throughout the morning. Good dude, volunteer firefighter, good man. He's already shared with us how they first met. They met by accident. They were on an online dating site or something, and Branden didn't mean to swipe on the producer Hannah profile, but did accidentally.
That was before I was even producer Hannah.
Before she was producer Hannah, so you're not a gold digger or anything like that.
Oh, Lord.
Scott Faughn, Missouri Times, joining us on the show. Big event last night, and apparently a couple of our gubernatorial candidates having some words. Set the scene for us, Scott. Where was this? What happened?
Well, first of all, I think it's awesome that Hannah and Branden met the same way you and I did, Branden. What a coincidence.
On Bumble.
Yeah. I don't regret a thing.
Me neither.
Well, apparently Jay and Bill wishes they could swipe left on each other. Is that how it works?
Yes, it does. Good job, Scott.
Yeah. So they were at an event for the young Republicans of St. Louis, and I have to say, these events usually not a lot happens. Somebody tells some jokes about Joe Biden being old. Somebody tiptoes the line about a racist joke about Obama, and then they get punched. Democrat events are way better. They have booze. Republican events, not as great. This event actually was awesome. Probably, from what I understand, the best Republican event, well, maybe ever. So Bill Eigel does this thing. Bill Eigel, if you know him, he's a big guy, tall guy, loud, deep voice. I've told you he's the best orator in the party. And he does this thing when Jay Ashcroft is somewhere, he just picks on him. He just calls him out and says, you messed up A, B, C, D. You let gay people smile in this state. I'm going to put a stop to it. He really goes after him. And he did that again here about foreign-owned land. There's some people that have an issue with a foreign country owning property in the state of Missouri. Now, never mind that many people listening to this get paid by foreign corporations. That if you actually did this, they would be out of a job. But it sounds good, right? It's good on Facebook. So here, let's do this, Republicans. So Bill calls Jay out. Jay Ashcroft, the Secretary of State, you don't vote on anything. But Jay has, and I think to his credit, Jay will get involved in some issues at the state level. He'll go testify for committees and what have you, and he'll catch some flack, but I've always kind of appreciated him being candid with his views. Bill hit him because he supported one bill where the Secretary of State would keep a registry if you own foreign land. And there was some very small amount of Missouri's farmland that could be owned by a foreign country, and Bill just eviscerated him. Well, Jay kind of stuck up for himself. He actually, he has the bill, literally the actual bill in his pocket, and pulled it out. And Bill essentially says, Jay Ashcroft, are you willing to tell this group of people that you lied to them? Are you going to admit that you lied? And he said, no. And he said, here's the bill. And then they kind of went back and forth for a while. And it was the most interesting thing to happen in a Republican event since Teddy Roosevelt got shot.
Now, I heard some of this on Twitter yesterday, but who walks around with a bill in their pocket? And, there's a lot of bills. I guess maybe he knew this was coming or what?
I can tell you who walks around with a bill in their pocket, a guy that's tired of getting publicly called out on something. And Jay feels, look, are the political attacks unfair? Of course, they're political attacks, right? You don't like him, your opponent does, that's sort of politics. In this situation, Jay feels like that he's against that. Now, when they're running, they're all against all foreign-owned land. Will they pass a bill to that effect? No governor is going to do that. Do you really want to look a sizable amount of Missourians in the face and say, so I can get Facebook likes, you're fired? No, neither of those guys are going to do that. But it sounds good, and Republican parties know about convincing someone you're the stupidest person alive.
They have a lot. They've got a lot of events and a lot of Lincoln Days and a lot of stuff in the next year. You think this is foreshadowing of what's to come?
I think the next event they're at together, Jay Ashcroft's going to have to bring heat. When you're the front runner, this happens. Bill Eigel, I've told you guys from the start, Bill Eigel's running the best campaign of anybody. He's the best speaker. When you're a big, tall guy with a deep, booming voice, it helps. And Bill's running a campaign. I've always told you, everybody in the party thought Bill's really running for something else. And I've said on this show many times, the tell that he's running for governor he's been attacking the front runner, Jay Ashcroft. Jay Ashcroft, you can say it's because of his father's last name, and you're probably right, but when they count the votes, that doesn't matter. Jay Ashcroft is the prohibitive front runner in this race, and Bill Eigel has been bringing heat on him, and it's been getting under Jay's skin. The ERIC voting system, an issue that Bill raised that Jay Ashcroft initially blew off. Well, now Jay Ashcroft got out of the ERIC voting system, and I'm sure it's because he learned some new things or whatever. But the fact is, in this game, when you call your opponent out for doing something and then he quits doing it, you declare victory. Now he's hitting him on foreign-owned land, and obviously it's getting under Jay Ashcroft's skin. I mean, Jay Ashcroft's not a guy that's probably going to do real well with getting personally attacked, especially in a pretty small room in a small event. And he came with his bill ready to go and defended himself, and the back and forth ensued. The next time they're together, Jay Ashcroft, I mean, I personally will actually be now kind of looking for the next time they're going to be together and see what Jay does. Because, I think Jay, the one thing about Jay Ashcroft, if he believes something, he will dig his heels in. I watched him on issues that didn't help him politically. The guy is not, I mean, he's running now, so he's going to be less of this. But the guy actually, if he believes something, whether it's politically expedient or not, I've watched the guy dig his heels in and stand his ground. And I think you may see that again. I mean, I think Jay Ashcroft is a dude who, if he comes to an opinion on something, that's where he is. And he will kind of stick up for himself. Now, sticking up for yourself against Bill Eigel, you guys have interviewed both of them. Bill's probably a tough customer. But I think he's ready to respond and push back now. And that'll make a very interesting next 10 months watching the two of them fight.
We're hanging out with Scott Faughn. He's publisher of Missouri Times, politically based. It's Missouri Politics, Jefferson City-based publication, MissouriTimes.com. Now, this makes, and I'm emceeing this event tomorrow night. It's the Boone County GOP annual Chili Supper. I do know that both Mr. Eigel and Mr. Ashcroft, I know that they have been invited, as has Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe. Mr. Kehoe also running for governor, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Kehoe might deck you. He might not. He might not carry a copy of a piece of paper with a bunch of words on his pocket. Mike Kehoe's the bull of the woods. You mess with Mike, he might have you talking through fewer teeth after you get done.
And BooneCountyRepublicans.com if you want tickets for that event tomorrow night, 5:30, doors open. Program begins at 6:30. So, by the way, this is not.
Are you the MC of that?
Yes.
Sweet.
So I'm going to wear.
If they get into it, will you let them go?
Here's
You're
what
try to get in to stop them.
Here's what I'm doing. I'm going to dress up as an NFL official. I'm going to have a whistle. I'm going to wear the zebra shirt and the black pants, and I'm going to be throwing yellow flags, penalty flags, and red flags.
What?
And I'm going to be encouraging all of it every step of the way.
You've got your megaphone right there.
And
you're ready to go.
I've got a megaphone, and I will say, all right, gentlemen, you're grown-ass adults. Behave yourselves. I don't give a crap that you're running for office. You are grown men. You set an example for other people, so please behave accordingly.
Wow, you're going to be the worst MC ever. You should say, let's get ready to rumble.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Boone County, any favors is boring stuff. Nobody wants to hear Lincoln Douglas. They want to see Tyson Holyfield. They want to see an ear get bit off. You're killing the Boone County GOP. You're not going to get invited back if you don't up your game.
Well, they keep inviting me back, I don't know why. They keep inviting me back to do these things. I do Lincoln.
We want to see a fight.
Yeah, I'll encourage. I am. Thank you, Steph. That's a great idea. I'm going to bring my megaphone tomorrow. Now let's talk about money, and where does Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe, because this is not, by the way, not really the first time that Eigel and Ashcroft in public, by the way. There's another event, I think it was in Rollin. It's been over the summer, but there was a little dust up. Words had there. Mr. Kehoe,
Bill's been doing this for, I don't know, a year. Bill's in Osage County. I mean, back every bit of 9 months ago, if Ashcroft's been in an event, Bill Eigel called him out from the stage. I don't know that he called him exactly a liar, but he'll definitely attack him. I mean, this has been building for a long time. Bill Eigel, I personally think that if you want to know the person who's got the finger on the pulse of your right-wing, old, white guy that's ticked off, it's Eigel. And that old white guy that's ticked off very much likes you getting up in front of people and calling someone out, just like the godfather of all this, Donald Trump.
And then, so Kehoe, how's he playing into all of this as it relates to the governor's race? And quickly, I also want to get into campaign coffers here in the final 2 minutes that we have.
Well, while his two opponents are fighting and reading bills at events, Mike Kehoe is putting money in the bank. Mike Kehoe is raising money like few candidates have ever raised it running for office. I think if you're Mike Kehoe, just talking hogs, dogs, and logs here, you want to raise a bunch of money. The question with Mike Kehoe is going to be this. He's a bit of a statesman in an age where statesmen are not just, they're despised. If you're a serious person in the Republican Party, you are hated and no one likes you. Can Mike Kehoe get down in the mud with these guys and try to convince Missourians he's the stupidest person in the state? Because that's who'll win this primary. Whoever convinces me they're the dumbest person alive will win. And can Eigel knock down Ashcroft? Because Eigel will turn his guns on Kehoe. I mean, Eigel does not like Kehoe. Kehoe does not like Eigel. That's a personal thing. And if Eigel cuts Ashcroft down, which could happen, the beneficiary will be Kehoe until they turn their guns in a three-way race. It's who turns their guns on who. If you have three candidates with money and both of them attack one, well, that you can knock down one. It's a real tough game of diplomacy here. And I think Jay Ashcroft and Mike Kehoe aren't friends, but I don't think they have like lots of animosity. Kehoe and Eigel have tons of animosity dating back 7 years for his time in the Senate. Eigel will turn his guns on Kehoe. It's just a matter of when. And look, he's good at it. So Kehoe's standing back, trying to probably hope the two of them will cut each other up, and he just throws money in the bank. And we'll see. The test is going to be with all that money. Can he list a good modern-day Republican attack, which is something to the effect of, I know you are, but what am I? Mm-hmm. You've got to really get down in just moron land. Can Kehoe do it? I don't know.
All right. A couple of weeks ago, we had Eigel on the show. He was talking about a fundraiser he had, and we asked, well, like, who of prominence was there? And he said, well, my wife. And we said, well, sure. Good answer, but he had to. We said, like, who in the political world of prominence was there, and it took him a minute to come up. And it makes me wonder who does. You say Kehoe, he doesn't like Ashcroft, doesn't like Eigel. So I wonder. Excuse me, Eigel does not like Ashcroft. Eigel does not like Kehoe. Who does Eigel like would be one of my questions. Scott Faughn, Missouri Times. Man, if you're into Missouri politics, you got to check out MissouriTimes.com. He also hosts the TV show This Week in Missouri Politics. Scott, always cool hanging out with you, man.
Now, all right. I'm if you'll tell me you can guarantee me at least one punch start, I'm coming up tomorrow night.
That's coming up tomorrow night, Boone County. GOP Chili Supper, BooneCountyGOP.com. Coming up 5 minutes from now. We are going to
talking about all the stores that have been closing due to significant crime, the Wall Street Journal has a story about a crime ring that was uncovered and someone you might not have suspected.
Uh-oh.
And that would be all, except for this.
By the way, John, back with us here tomorrow on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Texas family repeatedly under attack. So we go to Kingsland, Texas, little town, about 7,000 people, northwest, about an hour's drive northwest of Austin, Texas. And this family, they've had some real problems. They've been on the TV. There have been 911 calls. They've talked to the TV station more than once because it continues to be a persistent problem.
I'm standing inside my parents' house with a hammer and knife trying to self and defend my family at any cost. I shouldn't have to live like this. My whole family's scared. They feel like they're prisoners in their own home. They can't go nowhere. Well, my parents are scared. My daughter's scared. I'm scared to even go back home right now.
So what is it that's driving the family crazy? It's just some random neighborhood pig. It's not a wild boar.
You stealing my shtick?
Animals.
Yeah.
Weird animals. And then it's just like we do with What's Hot with Hannah, 7:25-ish every morning. But that's the weird thing because they call the cops, and this pig's really smart. Like the cops show up, and the pig's like, oh, I'm out. They cannot catch the pig. Animal control has been called. These people have been on the TV. Nobody knows who the pig belongs to, but this family would sure like to know who does this pig belong to. Because you heard the woman there. She's got a hammer. She's guarding her home with a hammer.
Now, do you know what type of pig this is?
It had a snout, and it had 4 little paws and some floppy ears.
Paws on a pig. That's
hooves.
There you go.
They can be kind of mean, though, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, especially wild pigs or wild boars. They can be pretty scary.
Pretty nasty.
People always talk about what the craziest thing is you've seen when you go door to door for campaigns. And no joke, I was in college. I walked up on someone's porch to tell them to vote for I don't even remember who. And there was a little dog bed, and I looked down. It was a pig. I took off. I was like, nah, I'm good. I don't.
Here, vote for Joe Smith for office.
I looked down, and you're like, oh, a dog. And then you're like, oh, what is that? And then, nope, I'm out.
What a lot of people don't realize is most of the time when pigs are born on a farm, they end up removing these 2 teeth here because they're razor sharp, and they also dock the curly little tails most of the time because pigs are super intelligent. And if they get bored and they see this curly little tail in their face, they're going to go for it. And it's always been said if a pig gets a taste of blood, it'll completely lose its mind and be super dangerous to the other pigs in the pen.
Man, that's crazy.
Things you didn't want to know.
And now you know the rest of that story, along with a little history on pigs and why we cut off their tails. And
Wilbur don't mess around.
Wilbur don't mess around. Coming up a little bit after 8 o'clock, tying the Iranians into the attack on Israel over the weekend, the money that the United States just released, $6 billion. Quick timeline, and we'll get past that. And then we get to meet producer Hannah's fiance. Been talking about him on the show for 18 years now. And now finally, we get to meet the guy. Steph and I, we've been knowing him for a long time. Sweet guy, by the way. And he's
American people.
This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri with Branden Rathert, featuring Stephanie Bell, News Director Brian Hauswirth, John Marsh, and Hannah, the producer.
This is why we listen to you. Get ready, pal.
And now, here's your host, Branden Rathert.
Not a single cent from these funds has been spent yet. And when it is spent, it can only be spent on things like food and medicine for the Iranian people. These funds have absolutely nothing to do with the horrific attacks today, and this is not the time to spread disinformation.
Stephanie, you want to tell her why she's full of crap, or should I?
I mean, she forgets the word fungible.
Yeah. So that's national.
How dare she?
Somebody from the National Security Council. Well, you know, the $6 billion that President Magoo released a couple of weeks ago to Iran, none of that money was used to fund the attack on Israel over the weekend. So if somebody had won, let's say that I had won that $1.4 billion jackpot over the... Oh, by the way, I won $50 in the lottery Friday.
What?
Yes!
I'm surprised you showed up today.
So I'm at the... I have never... The last time I've bought Powerball tickets maybe twice in my life, and I bought not because the jackpot was big, but I get chatting with the cashier at the local break time, and I'm like, "Oh, how's it going with the Powerball tickets?" And I said, "Do I pick my own numbers? Do I pick them? How does this work?" She says, "Well, you can pick or you can do whatever." And I said, "Well, quick pick, and I'll take whatever number's worth." And she's like, "Okay." And then I'm looking at the scratch-offs. I'm like, I've never bought scratch-offs either. And I thought, I'm addicted to booze and drugs and other things. Why not try my hand at gambling?
You used to be addicted.
I used to be. And if you know somebody who has problems with drugs or alcohol, and please let me know, and I can show you what I did to quit. Life is amazing now. So I got $5 worth of scratch-offs.
Yes.
Scratched off 4 tickets, nothing. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's for fun. I won $50 on a scratch-off ticket.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you, Ryan.
So you're buying us all breakfast, right?
Buying y'all breakfast. What do you want? Where was I? Oh, how these people lied to us. So if somebody had won the $1.4 billion in the Powerball, even though it takes typically 10 to 14 to 15 business days to get your check from the lottery, what are you doing with the little bit of money you do have now?
Oh, you're definitely spending it.
So when the National Security Council and people like Anthony Blinken get on the TV, oh, that $6 billion that we just released, 10, 15 business days ago, that was not used to... They are just flat out lying to you.
And beyond personal spending, I mean, Brian, you probably could spout off some examples off the top of your head. It's not coming to me as I would like, but it happens a lot in local governments. And so what you will see happen is they will say, hey, we need to pass a tax for law enforcement or for tourism or for parks or whatever, and like dedicate the money. And everyone's like, they're going to have even more money. And then they're like, no, now we're dedicating that money, and the money we used to spend on that, we're going to sweep over to do something else. It frees up the money for something else. And it happens a lot in local governments with new taxes, and people often are confused about what the import of those earmarked funds are going to end up being. And here, it's similar, really.
Good point. So they're lying, being disingenuous, and we know, right? And I wonder if they do it, these progressives, they do it because the people that vote for us are pretty stupid anyway. I don't know if, and I'm not saying they're stupid. I'm asking if that's what they are thinking when they just come on the TV. And Anthony, well, that money's not even been released yet. And I love the part, and it's only supposed to be used for human aid. Oh, I'm sure we were going to buy some rockets and missiles, but the U.S. said we can only use this $6 billion on food and water. It is just so incredibly disingenuous. So in August, whenever President Magoo released the $6 billion to Iran, guess what else started happening in August?
Iran started plotting this whole plan, which we haven't really gotten to yet, but I have a lot of questions. And I think the thing for me that was scariest about 9/11 is that you think about the U.S. and you think our intelligence is number one, right? And I still believe that we have the best intelligence in the world. And I think that was why it was so scary in 9/11, because obviously a lot of things went wrong and things fell through the cracks. And I think, in many ways, I had the same feeling about Israel, that they had super great intelligence. I think they've always been known to have good intelligence. They've got a lot of really intelligent allies. And so the fact that this had been going on for months, this plotting or planning, and that it was executed to the scale that it was executed. And, there's a lot going on. Obviously, it started in a holiday when maybe not as many people were out and had access to communications and all of these things, but it was carefully planned. And the fact that maybe they did have somewhat of a heads up, it doesn't really seem like they did. And that for me is really something that in the next coming weeks, I'm going to be looking for answers to, because something broke down.
Yeah, and I think Stephanie brings up a very good point, but I would point out something, too, about 9/11. There was actually a whistleblower in 9/11 who had some really good information, and I don't know if people remember it. She informed both the CIA and the FBI, and she was kind of ignored, basically. Chuck Grassley, I remember bringing her up there, and she was, kind of ostracized. But yeah, she had come forward with some, I thought, valuable information that was, who knows if it would have prevented it, but I thought it was very, very interesting. I also thought, real quick, guys, the interview with Adam Schwadron, I don't, and again, we've been so busy with local stories. I did not know, and I don't know if you guys knew, all those lawmakers went to Israel in December. I don't remember hearing about that. Maybe we reported it. I don't remember. Certainly it was a bipartisan group, as he explained, but he did a really good job of explaining
why it matters to us. Adam
exactly.
Schwadron is a Republican state representative, St. Charles. He is Jewish. He's talked about these things on the House floor before, and was in Israel earlier, or I guess late last year, technically.
Right around Christmas.
And you'll be able to hear that on the Wake Up Mid-Missouri On Demand podcast. You can go to 939theeagle.com or KWOS.com. You go to podcast Wake Up Mid-Missouri, and I'm assuming we'll probably have that interview posted separately. So the cool thing is you can go and listen to the show in its entirety, and it's like the Reader's Digest version. It's just all content. There's, it's all us, and it's about like each minute condenses into about 30 minutes. I would highly recommend you go and do that. You can download the podcast every day wherever you like to go and get your stuff from. The apps are new. Hannah's really jazzed those things up, add a lot of pizzazz, some usable, friendly features. And then what we do sometimes with people like Adam Schwadron, we cut those out specifically so you can go and listen to that. We also had Scott Faughn, Missouri Times, talking about this, apparently another public spat. And when I say public, I just don't mean in the media. I mean like two dudes, Ashcroft running for governor, Bill Eigel running for governor, same room, and going at it a little bit. I've heard audio before. There was one I think it was in Rolla earlier this year. The guys played the audio, and I begged him for the audio, wouldn't give it to us. Anyhow,
wow.
So he was in there. You'll also be able to hear our interview with producer Hannah's fiance. He is Branden, and he's joining us here on the show. Been talking about the dude for years. By the way, John Marsh is back tomorrow. Stephanie, Brian Hauswirth. I am Branden Rathert. There's producer Hannah. Am I allowed to see everything? It's funny here this morning because everything I've been asking the fiance, I'm having to ask Hannah first because I know I ain't no dummy. I know who the boss is in all of this. So I feel like everything. Hey Hannah, can I ask your fiance this? Can I get permission to do this? Can I give his last name?
That's up to him.
I'm fine with it.
All right.
Yeah.
So Brandon Smith is joining us on the show. Producer Hannah's fiance. So we've learned kind of a beautiful story, really, because I'm fascinated. I don't know why. Maybe it's just a weird quirk. I'm always fascinated. People that have been together and obviously are in love with each other. I always like to ask, how did you meet? How did you meet? Met on a dating app, but apparently it was not intentional.
Not originally, no.
What happened?
I just was scrolling through one day, and I swiped on the profile before I read too far into it. Mm-hmm. Just kind of going off, man, this is a really pretty girl. And I didn't see originally that she was still in college. She was a couple years younger than me. And I was kind of in that stage of my life where I don't want another kid.
I hear you.
I don't feel like dating another kid. And, she proved me wrong in every aspect.
Yeah.
She's,
you're a lucky
amazing.
dude, by the way. She's great. Because if you weren't going to marry her, I was about to. So it was by accident. Brandon's a firefighter. He works for the state, but is also a volunteer firefighter because his family has done it, and he wants to be of service. And I love that. And you said it was Hannah's emotional maturity that you first. She is kind of an old lady sometimes.
I really am.
Yeah.
She's got an old soul.
Yeah, and you'll see everybody if you're watching our show on our YouTube. I'm telling you, you got to go and watch the show on YouTube and Face. You'll see everybody in the studio. Stephanie's like, man.
There are some things that are so stereotypical Gen Z about Hannah, and then you're like, that place downtown, that you go to drink. She's like, what?
Nope.
Never been there.
I know Brian Hauswirth has to scoot along really
Yes, I
quick,
do.
but I thought it'd be fun instead of having fun stuff, maybe a serious question from the Zimmer news director.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your biggest thing you've learned about Hannah?
So, she really forced me to work on my communication.
I love the word forced.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. When we first got together, she always called me her baby deer because we'd start getting on a serious topic and you kind of just deer in the headlights. I don't want to talk about this.
That's right. Well, when you're a bachelor for a long time, even if you're with somebody you like, it's like, hey, I'm still trying to adjust this because I've been a bachelor for a lot of years, and now you're you're forcing me. I think are your words. You're forcing me to do all it.
Encouraging. It's strongly encouraging.
She made me evolve.
He said force.
Listener of the show right there.
Very nice work.
Good job.
I'm sorry, what was the question? Go ahead and finish it.
What have you learned about Hannah? Is
She's helped you with communication.
Communication, exactly.
Yeah, I just, she forced me to be more open about, things that are bothering me. There for a while, it just kind of, you'd sit there and you'd smolder. Man, I don't like that she did this. I don't like that this happened. Yeah. And she really forced and made me evolve in a point where I could sit down and actually say, hey, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And she kind of forced me to mature in my own communication where it wasn't there before.
Good job.
The book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
This damn book, I swear.
I had a somebody brought this up the other day, this book that's at least 20 years old. Somebody brought it up the other day.
Was it you?
No, it wasn't even me. It was this woman that brought it up, and I'm like, I've read that book. It really is a good book because it says exactly what you just said. As guys, that's what we do. We hold on to that stuff. We don't talk about it because women,
Excuse me?
They always want to talk, and we don't because we're built differently. We want to internalize things, but we should talk about things, but women should understand that. And the other thing I'm guessing you learn, like when the women are going, beep, 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 you don't have to really respond every 10 to 15 seconds. Mm-hmm.
Smile and wave.
And once in a while,
don't listen to him. That's
once in a while,
terrible advice.
even repeat back to her a few things that she said, so she knows that you're listening.
Well, and I've told him before, I'm like, when you shut down and don't tell me what's wrong, I'm going to sit here and invent something in my head that's way worse.
That's
and it's
right.
just going to be worse for both of us.
And our brains, Hannah and I, brains are very much alike, probably with a lot of people. When we don't know something, where do our heads go?
We spiral downwards very quickly.
We go to the worst possible place. We get to hang out some more with producer Hannah's fiance. Coming up 5 minutes from now.
rise, and I think Israel has officially declared war. The markets are reflecting, I think, the uncertainness of the world this morning, and all three future indexes that we look at are down nearly, probably averaging amongst the three of them about 0.5%. So probably we'll see that. I suspect we'll see that reflected. I'm not a stock analyst, but
just like I'm not a relationship expert,
yeah,
Stephanie
you should
Bell.
not listen to, and I'm not a stock market analyst, but
It's not a financial expert.
personally, I'm not expecting anything really, great from the stock market this morning. Okay, so we've known, we've had major cities all over the U.S. closing retail, not the cities closing, but retailers in major cities closing their shops, saying the theft is so bad that we can't even keep these places open. It's just no longer smart for us to do it or worth it to us. And so, and we've seen inflation rising, inflating our prices at these locations, but I don't think people fully realize how much money these places are investing in research and ways to conduct and ways to figure out why their stuff is walking out the door. We know, they've got the cameras and they've got other things, but there's also, they're looking at gift cards, or they're looking at back end, shopping habits, and trying to figure out who's stealing all of our stuff and how do we prevent this theft. And these folks are saying, the Wall Street Journal talked to Walmart, Target, Macy's, Dick's Sporting Goods, and other places like Nordstrom and Nike, and they're trying to say, hey, how do we prevent these thefts? They've been doing a lot of research, and in Florida, they're like, we didn't really expect this one. So they this man had stolen enough goods to sell $3 million worth of goods on eBay. So he was having the stuff stolen, and then he would just resell it out of his garage. They start researching, and they followed two guys who they were stealing tools from Home Depot, right? So expensive things. And they followed these two guys. They realized the two guys had hit up like 7 Home Depots. They figure out where he's going, and they figure out this guy's eBay address. The law enforcement actually orders something from his eBay store and then returns it. And when they got returned, it went to the guy's house. They're like, it's him. It was a pastor in Florida. He ran actually a drug recovery program known as the Rock Community Church and the Transformation Center in St. Petersburg, Florida. He got arrested along with his wife and his mother and a couple other people. But
Thou shalt not steal.
And his eBay name was Anointed Liquidator, which is like
kind of accurate.
Yeah, kind of accurate.
Huh.
But he ends up selling, making almost $3 million from this racket. And so and I don't know a lot about criminals in general, but they call him a fence, right? So there's always like this person who's kind of organizing everything and who's kind of like the third party. So he wasn't actually conducting the stealing, but he was paying these folks to go and steal from Home Depot. When he first started, they said he was paying some people up to like $2,000 a day to go steal some of these items, but that lately he was paying them much less. Maybe he
inflation.
Maybe he didn't get as good at people, and that's how they got caught. So, actually, initially he was paying some people up to $5,000, and lately it's been like $500. But anyway, they found him. So now retailers are like, we got to be on the lookout for those pastors serving as fences for the crime ring.
Here's how you solve the problem of these theft rings and stuff. Just buy online, shop online. I don't buy anything online. Shop online. Matter of fact, I need a charger. dude. Not that producer Hannah needs our approval, but he's a good dude. We're going to meet him a little bit here. Welcome into the show. There is Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
It's producer Hannah.
Hello.
My name is Branden Rathert. Brian Hauswirth hanging out with us. Marsh is here. The big event from I got to see video of this from over the weekend. Southern Boone. How cool was this? We talked about what was an exciting game for the most part Saturday for Mizzou. Yesterday got a little dicey for the Chiefs, but some exciting victories. And how about what happened in Southern Boone?
The Southern Boone sixth graders, went undefeated in the regular season. Big win. It went into overtime. They ended up winning. It was a great day at the Eagles Stadium. But then also I would say about this weekend, it was finally like bonfire weather. And we had a fire and s'mores on Saturday. I went on a hayride yesterday and did another fire cookout yesterday. Oh, nothing's better.
We turned our furnace on Friday night.
Do you ever get phone? So Branden is also a volunteer firefighter. Do you ever get calls like, we're smelling something burning in the house, about October or November?
Yeah, it's about every time it really starts to get cold. You get that, they're smelling smoke. They don't see anything, but they want you to go check it out. Well, when did you turn your furnace on? About a half hour ago. Okay, well, that's probably why. So just give it another hour or so. That smell will go away. You'll be fine.
Is it kind of a common occurrence?
Oh yeah, it's very common because a lot of people don't understand that it's time. You probably need to change your furnace filters.
Mm-hmm.
Do your regular maintenance on those.
And isn't October? It's a lot of things. Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but isn't it also like Fire Prevention Month?
That is this week. Fire Prevention Week.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember as a kid in school, we used to do the posters, and you could win contests. And I didn't get the assignment, and I got a twisted sense of humor even when I was in the first grade. But you were supposed to draw these posters about something like fire prevention, like, oh yeah, I drew a picture of a smoke alarm or something. Yeah. And one year, I had a teacher. Her name was Mrs. Henrietta. Mrs. Henrietta. She draw a picture about fire prevention, whatever it was, and I drew a picture of a family jumping out of the windows of their home on fire.
That is twisted.
Like these little kids jumping from the top floor. Oh. And I got called into the principal's office. My parents may have been called. Like, hey, how is Branden? Is he okay? And like, how come? Well, the picture of fire prevention. My mom and dad, God bless them. Not only did they have amazing senses of humor, they were able to back everything that they said. And I said, they're like, well, then they said, the problem's you if you don't get the point. See, this is what will happen if you don't practice good fire prevention. You get, do you get any of those calls that you're like, man, that was a good? Because I know you handle accidents, not just fires, but accidents, things like that happen. Like calls, you go, man, that makes me feel good.
Well, I mean, one of my favorite things in the year is actually Fire Prevention Week because we always go out to the elementary school and do some talks with like kindergarten, first grade classes. Things you need to be doing. How do you have a fire prevention plan? All that. But there's always calls that people come back to you even years later. Years ago, I was working in a grocery store, and I had a lady come tap me on the shoulder. Are you a firefighter? Yes, ma'am, I am. Do you remember me? Ma'am, unfortunately, I don't. She said, well, about 2 years ago, I tried to hurt myself. And you were the first person that walked in my door and told me that things were going to be okay. She goes, I still to this day remember that. I went and I got help, and I got myself better. And if it wouldn't have been for you, that might not have been the case.
It's pretty powerful stories. At moments like that, you go, that's why I'm doing this.
Well, and, just being there for the community in general.
Let me ask you this. When Hannah comes home from Wake Up Mid-Missouri, what does she say about us?
Well, she's usually got a couple hours to figure out if she wants to say anything.
Uh-huh.
It's my afternoon nap.
Yeah. She has enough time to cool down if something happened or, really formulate the words that she wants to use.
Uh-huh.
But She normally has nothing but nice things to say.
Normally.
Did
you hear that, Steph?
There's always going to be that one day,
Yeah, everybody has bad days.
So you like Hannah because she's mature beyond her years. Hannah, what was it you first liked about this dude?
Well, when I was looking at his dating profile, you see the firefighter, and then I see a guitar. And one of the first messages he sent me was, hey, you should check out my Instagram. I've got pictures of me singing and playing guitar. Mm-hmm. He knew what he was doing.
I'm smart.
Yeah. Those hooks were in early because growing up, I always told my family, I'm going to marry someone who can sing. And I did. Well, I'm going to.
You know, Brandon, you should really teach a class on dating apps, it sounds like, because like the running joke, right, is like guys should get rid of their pictures where they're just like holding a fish, and they're like, you should immediately say no if it's just like a guy holding a fish. Like, absolutely not. But I think like guy with a guitar has to be what like I'm trying to think on the list of like things of like most swipeable.
I'm pretty sure I was wearing a bumblebee costume in one of my photos on my profile, so it's amazing we made it to this point.
I mean, I'm trying to think Gen Z. So like NFL jersey, probably number 1. Number 2, guy with a guitar.
Holding a puppy or a baby.
Nope.
Yeah. I think
guys in uniform.
Yeah, guys in uniform. And you had that one down, so yeah.
What if I work at the Waffle House and my uniform is a Waffle House uniform?
Hey.
You own it.
There you go.
Like
That's what
you
you
think.
do.
Yeah, it's all about how you wear it.
Free waffles for life? I'm in. Come on.
And then, so you liked him because he was a musician, firefighter, but I'm trying to go deeper here, Hannah. What about his heart and his brain did you like?
Yeah, so for several weeks before we went on our first date, we were texting back and forth. We would FaceTime each other every night for hours and hours, go to bed at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and have to get up and go to work the next day. And he's so genuine. Why are you laughing?
I'm hoping anybody who's watching our YouTube channel or Facebook right now would be laughing too, because as Hannah's telling, we stayed up till 3 in the morning texting, and I'm not kidding. Brandon just sinking his head like, yep, I did that.
Very quickly, like I could tell that he was a very genuine person. He's extremely loyal, and he has a good heart. Yeah. And that's initially what drew me to him.
And I learned that day. It was, matter of fact, Stephanie and I, we are very honored to once again have been asked to MC the
wedding.
The homecoming parade.
We're bringing the megaphone.
And I think it was the first year we did it together. And I took Ambien instead of Losartan.
2 years ago today.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Today.
You freaked me out.
So I was taking blood pressure meds and sleep meds, and they look very much alike. And I'm supposed to take the blood pressure in the morning. I apparently took the Ambien and went to go MC the biggest and first homecoming parade in America with Stephanie. I think that was the first year she had done it.
Yes.
Yep.
She's trying to figure it out. And then afterwards at the tailgate, anyhow.
I was going to say, this whole time, I'm working the Zimmer Tiger tailgate that we do before every home Mizzou football game in front of Mizzou Arena. And Stephanie's texting me the whole time while you guys are at the parade going, something's up with Brandon. Yeah. He's like, he can't stay awake. I'm having to repeat things several times to him. And I'm sitting there like, well, that doesn't sound that different. But she was really worried about you. And you were fairly early into your sobriety. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people's first concerns was that you were drinking.
And that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the concern that Brandon showed that day, like, hey, you good and everything, I thought it was really cool.
And then when you got to the tailgate, you leaned against one of the station vehicles and napped for a couple hours.
When you're done, you're done. So while you're here, we're hanging out with Brandon. This is producer Hannah's fiance. Over the years, we've kind of joked about when the wedding date is. Recently, it was, you guys got married a couple weeks ago, steps to the Montauk County Courthouse. You ever hear back on any of that stuff?
Oh, yeah, we heard 2 recently. My brother works for a company in Columbia, and his boss listens to the show. And when my brother put in his time off request for the wedding, the boss was like, wait, I was listening this morning and they said that the wedding already happened. He thought he was lying.
That's the power of live local radio. And if you're thinking about marketing your business, you should call and get producer Hannah or Stephanie Bell to be an influencer endorser for you, because that's the effect. So you've got Hannah's brother going to a boss requesting time off for the wedding. The boss saying, no, I heard on Wake Up Mid-Missouri that the wedding happened last weekend. That's the power of radio for your business.
And Brandon had a similar encounter last week.
Yeah, I walked into work one morning, and one of my coworkers, she's actually the one that's going to be taking care of a lot of my responsibilities while I'm out on vacation right now. And it was one of those, she goes, come here. Oh, I'm in trouble. She goes, let me see your hands right now. Okay, my hands are up. She goes, I was listening to the radio this morning, and they said you done got married.
She's looking for a wedding band.
I was like, as far as I know, we haven't. If I missed something. She goes, well, I'm just making sure if you're going to be out for, this amount of time and I got to take care of all your stuff, it better be for a legitimate reason.
So she had heard us say that you had already married.
She listens to the show.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, we were at the football game on Friday night, and we had a couple people who were a little bit confused over whether Hannah was married or not. I do need to give a shout out to listener Mark. He was there. He's with the Kiwanis Club, and they were out there giving away the Mayor's Cup at the football game. But yeah, we had some questions. Are you married? Has that wedding happened? Keeps moving around, so it was fun.
Here's the thing, folks. It will be plastered all over the Wake Up Mid-Missouri Facebook page when the big day happens. I promise you.
Promise. Coming up a few minutes from now, some leftovers. We're going to be seeing something that we haven't seen here
Serving of leftovers. Enjoy.
What was the story you did in What's Hot with Hannah this morning, 7:25? We do it every morning, 7:25. It's just something kind of fun, different, off the beaten path. It's one of those things you get into work and you go, did you hear what they did on Wake Up Mid-Missouri for What's Hot with Hannah? It's kind of one of those things.
There is a funeral home in Massachusetts that is being sold for over $750,000. And they're trying to say that it can be converted back into a single-family home. But on the for sale sign, somebody keeps putting a sign that says probably haunted.
And I love that sense of humor.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So one of our listeners, we were talking about, would you buy a home that was haunted? I would think some people would spend a lot of money for that. Listener Stephanie texts, says, my house used to be hospice care. From what I understand, several people have died here in the dining room. So I envisioned Stephanie was texting us as she was listening to Wake Up Mid-Missouri on the apps from 93.9 The Eagle and KWOS. And she's texting us from the dining room this morning. I imagine several people have died here. And this is where they'd hold the bodies for the coroner. And then she says it was very haunted. And we had a cleansing of the house.
Like an exorcism?
That's what I'm dying for this, Steph. I've even reached out to her. I'm like, hey, can you come on the show and talk about? I would love to talk to somebody who's had their house exorcised or cleansed, whatever.
I was going to say, a lot of times it's just burning sage and kind of going through the house and letting the sage smoke fill all the corners, and it's supposed to expel ghosts, I guess. I don't know.
Or like that really strong Lysol, right? Okay. Meanwhile, I'm getting texts from listener Melissa, and she said, hey, you should really check this thing out. Discovery Plus is doing season 2 of We Bought a Funeral Home, which is an actual show. Apparently there's a season 1. She said, it's really good. You should watch it.
My friend who lives in Owensville, her daughter's best friend.
Not your friend. You've already done the hard launch. You can't go back.
Liz, the young lady that I hate. It feels weird to say girlfriend because I'm 52 years old and it just feels weird.
It feels less weird than saying your special friend.
Her daughter's best friend, her dad owns a funeral home. That's where they live, and she hangs out in this funeral home all the time. Thinks nothing of it. Randy says our first home was haunted. So something we haven't seen. It's been 7 years since we've seen one of these in Missouri. We're getting ready.
I lost my glasses. I had some for this.
Oh, yeah.
Get ready.
Well,
that's what you need.
I know. Well, my dad, I went and saw The Big Guy this weekend. My dad has a great sense of humor. And then sometimes he's very factual. He says, here, try my reading glasses on. And I tried them on. I'm like, yeah, that was pretty cool. He says, they're way cooler than the ones you wear. I suggest you get new ones.
Oh, burn.
I really like when your favorite pair breaks, and then you have to wear the old lady ones that you have.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some old lady cat reading lenses whenever these break.
But that was serious. That was the one thing that they were like, you have to have the glasses. Do you remember that? And I had a whole bunch. I should have saved them, I guess.
Another eclipse coming 6 months from now, April 2024. A good portion of us. Now, it's not going to be as good as we got to see last time. You might have to travel a little bit. But we'll see about 99% of a total eclipse coming up in April.
It's serious.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. And yeah, it was, don't look at the sun. Don't look at the sun.
Well, and more importantly, they were like, this is going to bring a lot of tourists and stuff to Missouri. And I mean, at first I kind of chuckled and I was like, it was really cool to be outside and to experience it. And also they were right. I mean, there were tons of people that came to Missouri, and yeah, there's a band. I think it goes from St. Louis to Nashville, and like hotels are, I mean, like it really does. There are people who will travel to see these eclipses.
Well, I remember the one, like the last big one we had 7 years ago. I was actually at the fairgrounds in Montauk County, and we had people from across the ocean showed up. I mean, there was 2,000 people sitting in our fairgrounds because we were directly over that line.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was so many people in town that day.
The voice you're hearing is that of Branden. That is producer Hannah's fiance. He's been kind enough to come hang out in the studio with us. So we throw a big party for the two of them today after they got married over the weekend. We want to, they did not get married over the weekend. They'll be a little bit more careful. Here's the other thing I know before we get my dad. My dad might be listening to the show now because Gary Nolan's getting ready to come on. It's his favorite show. My dad over the weekend, he's in the oil industry. He's a cashier at a gas station in Jefferson County, Missouri. But I fudge the truth and say he's in the oil industry. My dad has a really good sense of humor, too. So he says when the young men come up to the counter and they're buying condoms, he says a lot of them are still kind of sheepish about it. They're kind of shy about it. And my dad wears hearing aids. He can hear great as long as he's wearing his hearing aids. But he's learned to screw with these guys. When they come up and say, yeah, can I get some condoms, please? My dad will say, what? Excuse me? Can I get some condoms, please? My dad will, he'll keep saying, I'm sorry, what? And say, I wear hearing aids. I can't hear you anymore.